let's get to number 7, LSU versus number 14, Kentucky. Also on Sunday, LSU is going to go to Kentucky for another big SEC matchup. They're coming off a 58-65 loss to number 3, Texas. And here's what Kim Mulkey said on the strength of this SEC conference and what this really means for the conference as a whole.
Kim, the conference is tough, and these are some rough and tumble games going down the stretch. How does this prepare teams like yours and Texas's for what's coming in March Madness?
Well, I think if you see the SEC, wow, it's just a lot of tough teams, and I would think that we're probably all a little grateful when the SEC season is over, because you may think the NCAA playoffs is you can kind of breathe a little, but it's tough in this league.
She took a hesitation and goes, wow.
Oh,
I thought that was
she
so
had my
funny.
response.
Like, yes.
The same thing earlier when you asked me about the SEC. I'm like, I can't even wrap my brain around it. Honestly, like, it is tough. It's intense. It's wild, and anything can happen. But yeah, I was just laughing at the fact that I was like, she sounded exactly like I did, or maybe I sound like her.
Hey, then that means you're on point. You know exactly what you're supposed to be talking about if you and Kim Mulkey are on the same wavelength. But I love that. But no, it is really true. And that's what we're seeing, especially with all of these SEC teams being so highly ranked. But this is a good Kentucky team. They're 13-1 at home. They beat a number 13 Oklahoma team, right? Like, they have had some high successes and high highs that they can point to in this game, or in their season. But really, like, do you think they can beat this LSU team? Because this LSU team has experience playing these top opponents. And for LSU, right, like, yes, this is a big game, but they're really looking at the next couple games that they have past this.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's going to be interesting, again, because we talk about how, like, the in-conference stuff can really intensify things. And sometimes games and the teams like LSU, they kind of have to have their moment of being challenged. And I feel like Kentucky could be underestimated in terms of what they bring to the table. Tiana Key, you're talking about somebody who's coming in strong in the rebound category, and they can change the style of play for LSU. I think on a different preview we talked about the fact that LSU is going to have to make sure that they're forcing their game on their opponent, that they're sticking to their structure. I think that's going to be Kentucky's game plan going into this. How can we force them out of their structure? How can we force them out of the simple set of their game? And what key players can we use, pun on words, to turn over the ball and to make sure that we're forcing them out of their normal style and structure. Rebounds playing huge with that. We saw it when Angel Reese was playing. So a page out of the book in terms of how Kentucky can maybe approach this. But do you think it could be close because of it, or is LSU just going to continue to put up the stats?
I do think LSU is going to continue to put up the stats because they only have Georgia, who's unranked, at home before this game. So really for them, they can use that Georgia game to prepare for this Kentucky game. This is something that coaches will do if you're not playing a team that you're really worried about too much. You start putting in plays that you know you'll run against your ranked game or your next opponent. You'll start running a certain defense that might not even be needed for that game that you're playing that day, but you know that you're going to want to rep it out more than just practice, and maybe even see how will the refs react to this, right? Like, all the things, what girl should be put in which position, which slot. And so I think that's what LSU is going to do with Georgia. I think they'll use that as a practice game for this Kentucky team.
Yeah, it'll help them, that's for sure, because again, it's just kind of making sure that they can manage the game. I mean, also something else where they could pull a page out of the book is kind of like what USC did so well versus UCLA. It's controlling the game early. I feel like LSU would have the ability to intimidate a team like Kentucky if they come out and completely dominate and control that first quarter, because sometimes at this point of the season, having that strong first and fourth is collectively what helps you get out on top if the margin gets that close, if Kentucky can keep it within that window.